Today on FSI, we are going to be breaking down the Washington football team and the San Francisco 49ers from a betting perspective. Now, we're currently 24-8 in our official record on Twitter, so make sure you're following that account. I'm your host, Tom Cross, and to my right is our analytics expert, Stephen Boo.
Thanks for tuning in this week. Washington's on the road as a 3-point underdog. They're plus 155 on the money line, and the Niners are minus 180.
Wow, the 49ers, they did not show up on Monday Night Football against the Bills, and that might be due to the fact that they had to move from San Francisco down to Arizona, while the Bills, on the other hand, it was just a normal week for them. They just went from Buffalo down to Arizona, where they had been previously, and actually should have won a game there. Now, I feel like the public is going to be all over the Washington football team because the 49ers got blown out on Monday Night Football, so I don't think anybody's really gearing up to take them this week.
The Washington football team improved their record to 5-7, which actually gives them a tie for that division lead. They also handed the Steelers their first loss of the season last week. Now, the Niners do have a same 5-7 record, but they're in a stacked NFC division, so they're in a hunt for that final wildcard spot. The Niners, they are playing at a neutral site, so I'm a little surprised they're a 3-point favorite here.
Surprisingly, Nick Mullins did show up on Monday Night Football. He had a huge strike to Brandon Aku for 59 yards. But overall, this guy is a backup quarterback. He's a C- type thrower, maybe even a D+. He threw an interception in the game. He's just not a starter. So at the end of the day, I got to give him a weaker grade.
Alex Smith is up against a team that drafted him in 2005. He was the first overall pick that year and led both the Niners and the Chiefs to multiple playoff appearances. It's been a long 15-year journey for Alex Smith, but he's back at starting quarterback for the Washington football team. While Smith is no longer performing like he did prior to his injury, he did have an impressive 290-yard performance against a top Pittsburgh defense.
Surprisingly, the 49ers offensive line did not show up on Monday Night Football against a weak Bills pass rush. Now, they are going to be playing a stud defensive front that was able to stifle the Steelers, so you definitely got to give an advantage here to Washington's defensive line.
The Washington football team has given up the 4th most sacks this year, so they have one of the worst pass protections. Now, the 49ers, they do have a good defense, but their big weakness is their defensive line. Nick Bosa was injured on the 2nd week of the season, so the pass rush have been struggling to apply pressure all year.
Now, Brandon Aku did show up on Monday Night Football, had a huge reception. Deebo Samuel was limited, and Jordan Reed as well. This 49ers receiving group isn't the best on paper. They're still a little bit young, and they've had some injuries as well. Obviously, George Kittle isn't out there. Now, they're going to be facing a Washington secondary that has been playing some good ball over the last 2 games. So at the end of the day, I am going to give an advantage here to Washington.
Terry McLaurin has established himself as a top-tier receiver, posting back-to-back seasons with over 900 yards. The second-year receiver is looking to pass 1,000 passing yards in this game against the 49ers defense. Now, Richard Sherman has returned from his injury that kept him out for multiple weeks, so I do expect a full defensive back unit from the Niners.
Surprisingly for the 49ers, Robert Munster was not used that much against the Bills. He was their star from last year. Instead, Jeff Wilson really filled in, but they really couldn't get anything going on the ground, partly because they were down by 10 or more points in the 3rd and 4th quarter, so they really couldn't run the ball like they'd want to. But at the end of the day, they are facing a tough Washington front that's really good against the run. So once again, I actually have to give an advantage here to the Washington Redskins.
The Washington football team is not very good on offense. They're below average at rushing with only 4 yards per carry, and they will be up against a top-tier run defense giving up 3.9 yards per rush. I don't expect Washington to get any success on the ground.
Now, I would definitely look for the money line here because the Washington football team and the 49ers are basically kind of the same team. Both have strong defenses and have mediocre offenses. So at the end of the day, you got to take the Washington football team money line if you like them. Now, getting the 49ers plus 10 here on its 7-point teaser is not a bad move either if you pair it with something else. But I do like the Washington football team. They're more on a roll and they're a little bit more talented at this point in the season.
Playing at a neutral field is definitely beneficial for that road team. Now, I think the offensive ability of Washington is not very good this year to below average in both passing and running the ball. However, that San Francisco 49er team is currently not the same. They're no longer rushing the ball effectively, and their defensive unit is in shambles. They lack pass rush, and it's causing that coverage to break down. So Washington does have a top 5 run defense, pass defense, and pass rush. I'm taking the football team at plus 3 in this matchup.
Now remember, we can't predict COVID, PEDs, injuries, or the weather, so make sure you follow our Twitter for our official moves. We're 24-8 on there, so make sure you follow that account. Now, that's it for us. Do me a favor and smash the like button and subscribe. Tell us who you're going to be taking in the comments below.
We don't care about favorite teams. Our focus is on making you money. Follow our social media on Twitter, Instagram, or our webpage. The links are below.